All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to give folks a few moments to join and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, looks like we've got a good amount of people jumping in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a quick introduction, and then we will move forward with our product presentation course for today. So thank you everyone so much for joining today for how to design a functional and secure automated vehicular access control point system, presented by Nikki Dinnel at HySecurity. Super excited to be doing this presentation today. It's the first time, so you all get some exclusive access to some new content, which is super exciting. My name is Bo. I'm with Acelab. I'm Acelab's Director of Partner Success. We're helping out with hosting today's event. I'm going to give a quick introduction about Acelab, show you all how to find today's presenters on our website. So if you have some follow-up questions that happen after today's event, or you want to connect about a project, it's a great place to do that. Cool. So everybody who signed up for today's webinar automatically has a free Acelab account made for them. So be sure to check this out. You can see an overview of the different types of work you're doing on Acelab here on your homepage, projects. You can start searches. You can also see some of our upcoming webinars. So this is a great place to come to sign up for our new events as well. First, what I'm just going to show you today is how to get in touch with the team at HySecurity if you've got some questions after today's event. So if you know exactly who you're looking for, you can always use the search bar, type in the name of any manufacturer. It cross searches between brands, categories, and resources. So just make sure you're on that brands tab and head over to their page on Acelab. And from here, you can get in touch with their team directly by clicking this contact button. You can also explore some more about their products, save these to your projects, and see a bunch of product information, case studies, and inspiration photos as well. So this is a great place to come after today's webinar if you're looking for some more information, or to get in touch with the team at HySecurity. And then I want to show everyone a quick sneak preview of something that we have recently launched in a beta testing mode. So head over here to a prototype that we have. So some of this stuff exists already. You've got comparisons, research, conversations. That's all live on Acelab today. But what I want to focus on today is this schedules tab. So this is a newer feature that we have released to some beta testers. It's a great place to come and keep all of your product information organized. You can automatically populate this with data from Acelab, and you can also add in your own custom data so that you can really make this tool work for you and for your team. So if you're interested in learning some more about Acelab or getting access to some of these features on an early release, I'm going to go ahead and launch a quick poll so you can say yes to that poll, and someone from our team will reach out to schedule a time for a quick 15-minute demo and get you all set. All right. Other than that, I just want to encourage folks to please feel free to submit any questions to the Q&A throughout today's presentation. We'll keep our eye on those. So if there's anything super urgent, we can get to it in the moment, but we'll typically save the questions for the end of today's webinar. And if we don't get to the question live, we will have a record of it so we can follow up with you after today's event. All right. Other than that, I just want to thank everyone again so much for attending today. We appreciate you coming out and learning some more about this awesome product line. So Nikki, whenever you're ready, feel free to go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you, Bo. I appreciate that. Hi, welcome. I am Nikki Dinnel. I am the Sales Specification Consultant for HySecurity. I cover all of the central states, so basically Texas, Louisiana, and everything north. I have counterparts with me. David covers the East Coast and Brad covers the West Coast. Just want to also mention that you guys do 10 bazillion things. We do one thing all day long. So please try not to reinvent the wheel. When you have a project that includes gate operators, vehicular access control, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. We already have all of the CAD files, PDFs, BIM even. We have all the specs, installation manuals, details, anything like that that you could possibly need. So we're happy to provide that. We're happy to assist you with laying out your access control point system. But again, please just feel free to reach out to us and try not to go through all that extra work. Today, we're going to talk about how to design a functional and secure automated vehicular access control point system. Today, I'm going to train you guys to be a little more dangerous to understanding these key considerations, which must be included when designing a functional and secure automated vehicular access control point system. Today, we're going to cover all of these important design considerations for our automated vehicular access control point system. The first and most important design consideration is, what UL class does your project fall into? UL 325 uses these 4 classifications. Class 1 is our single-family residential. You could have up to 4 homes behind this gate. Class 2 is our commercial with public access. Think your multifamily installations. Class 3 is our industrial. Typically, we're not going to allow the general public behind these gates. And Class 4 is our restricted access. Think your airports, your military installations. Does anyone want to guess what separates these classes from each other?
If you have a guess, feel free to throw it into the Q&A.
Well, if you said speed, you are correct. Class 1 and 2, because these are residential installations, these gates can only remove at 1 foot a second. Class 3 and 4, because these are typically going to be restricted access and or have a security guard on site, these can move quite a bit faster. Industry standard is about 2 to 3 feet a second. However, there is a gate operator out there that will move at 8 feet a second. Next is what type of gate works best for your site. There are lots of options to choose from that we're going to cover today. There is a ton of slide gate installations out there, and here are some nice photos of some of them. Typically, slide gates are going to fall under 1 of 2 categories, either cantilever, as shown here. These are typically going to use in installations where maybe you have a crown in the road or maybe a little bit of a slope. The interesting part of these is this cantilever gate is going to be balanced between the 4 wheels, typically on those posts on each side of the gate operator. And then that will be your cantilever slide gate. The other type is V-track. V-track is somewhere where they're going to have a little more level roadway. They're going to anchor some angle iron to the road and attach wheels to the bottom of the gate, as shown here. When it comes to tail sections and clear opening space, these are very important design considerations to take into effect. For our cantilever slide gates, typically we're going to need half to maybe a little more, depending on your gate weight of your clear open. So in this scenario, my 20-foot clear open is going to have at least a 10-foot tail section. And you want to make sure that you have that at least 30-foot of clearance behind the curb for that entire gate section to be in the full open position. When it comes to V-track gates, typically, because of the way these are installed and on the gate, the wheels on the gate, on the angle iron, typically we only need maybe an additional 5 feet of tail section. So this scenario, our 20-foot clear open, we're going to have 5-foot tail section, and then we're going to need at least that 25-foot required clear open behind the curb. Another type of slide gate is overhead track gates, or I-beams, as shown here. Typically, again, these also will have that smaller tail section that the V-tracks have. Some slide gate advantages are that they can span wide widths. They are much more secure than swing gates, and they have that faster gate travel should your site require that. Some disadvantages of slide gates are that you need to make sure that you have sufficient open space behind the curb, and these can be dangerous. So we need to make sure that we follow all of the UL 325 and ASTM safety standards for these types of gates. When it comes to swing gate installations, lots of them shown here in all different ways. Some advantages of the swing gate is that there's typically no clearance issues when opening these gates, and we typically get a full 90-degree open. And these typically tend to be less dangerous than slide gates. But again, we want to follow all of those UL 325 and ASTM safety standards. Some swing gate disadvantages are we want to make sure that we're not crossing the sidewalks when these gates are in the open position. We have limited gate length. These are typically going to be gate weight, and again, gate length is going to be what the criteria that depicts our swing gates. Also, we want to make sure that we never have a solid panel. A solid swing gate panel is going to become a sail in the wind, and all operators might have an issue of trying to open them in the wind. And these are generally not as secure as slide gates. There are a lot of barrier arm options out there as well, and here are some installations for you. Some of the barrier arm advantages is that they do have a very fast throughput. They are highly visible LED lit arms, and they typically have a cost-effective options, as they are not as nearly comprehensive as swing gates or slide gates. However, some disadvantages is that they are prone to damage. Some do offer a spring-loaded arm and a kill switch to stop the arm from flopping around after it's been struck. And then again, these are not secure. We're just basically cycling traffic. Vertical lift gates are another popular option. Not always will you have the room to swing or slide a 80-foot long gate. These can be lifted 16 feet in the air. They do have a quick clearance. And typically we're not going to have that clearance issue on the back side of this gate as well. Some disadvantages of the vertical lift system is that they can be expensive, as well as any repairs are going to be quite expensive. And we want to make sure that we have covered our overhead clearances, so be sure to look up. When it comes to vertical pivot gates, there's other options out there for you to look at. These, again, are going to have quick clearance. They're going to have pretty wide widths. We're going to have a smaller footprint for the open space. And typically in snow areas, we're not going to be worried about pushing or sliding a gate in those situations. Some disadvantages to the vertical pivot gate is that they are have considerable sized footings. They're going to be very expensive at install. Again, remember those overhead clearance issues. These again are going to be maintenance nightmares. So we want to make sure that we have our PMs covered for these. And then again, remember that the footprint's going to be quite large. So keep that in mind for your site considerations. Hostile vehicle mitigation gates, such as active barrier arms, wedges, bollards, and crash slide gates are also an option. And that's a completely different presentation that we would love to share with you if you're interested in having that. Some common terms is the UL 325 safety standard. This is the safety standard that covers the gate operators. It also covers windows, doors, louver systems. Originally, this was introduced to the world in 2001. It is a dynamic standard, so they do go through changes every few years. ASTM F2200 is the safety standard that covers the gate and anywhere along the fence line the gate travels when opening and closing. Again, this was introduced back in 2001 with the UL 325 safety standard. Right and left-handed is going to be another common term you're going to hear. When you're standing on the inside of your property, we call that the secure side, and looking out towards the road, whatever side the gate is going to open up to and or the operator is going to be located of the driveway is going to be our right or left-handed. Tailgating, I'm sure you know what tailgating is. Just when one credential is swiped and the first vehicle travels through, this then allows several vehicles to travel through that opening at the one card swipe. Anti-passback is an aspect of many access control systems. And this is going to be when your site's a little more secure and you want to make sure that you don't have any illegal passbacks. So the first vehicle would swipe their card, drive through, and then they would be able to hand back their card to the next vehicle. With anti-passback, that is not going to be allowed. One vehicle, one swipe only. Vehicle obstruction loops and arming and free exit loops are going to be an important part of our access control point system that we'll cover in a few more slides. Photo eyes and contact edges, again, are a very important aspect of our automated vehicular access control point system. And these are going to follow under that UL 325. And then our access control system. This is lots of different products typically going to work together to make sure that your system is able to allow all your users not only vehicular access, but also building access. When it comes to types of gate operators, we have electromechanical. These are typically best suited for residential and commercial installations, using brushless motors with advanced digital controls for smooth operation and direct gear drive. However, there's lots of moving parts, means that we're going to have more wear and tear, so maintenance is going to be an issue. And with lower install costs than hydraulic, and these are not intended for heavy gates or gates with continuous duty cycles. The other option is hydraulic, used in industrial installations with wide and heavy gates that are intended for continuous duty and are more powerful and better performing with its hydraulic motors and high levels of torque. These are not going to be susceptible to electric failures, making them the reliable choice for mission-critical applications. Also relatively simple to maintain and a longer lifespan. However, there is going to be a larger upfront cost versus the electromechanicals. And these are the best options for cold climates as they are rated to 40 below operating temperatures. Now moving on to access control devices. Who will have access to your gate? Employees only? How will visitors enter? What about owners? How about the children? There is a variety of access control options in the market: keypads, remote controls, card readers, telephone entry systems, and we're all going to review some of those. The next question is do you only have one gate for entry and exit, or do you have to control many areas for security purposes? Whether your site needs a complex system online or a standalone system, there's a product for your application. Online access control systems are different types of readers that interface with the main control panel, typically via a dry contact relay. We're able to expand existing building access control systems to share vehicular access. And there's lots of types of communications as well, from the old school standards of the RS-485 and weekend to now Bluetooth and cell phone as well. Vehicle tag or barcode and readers are typically used in locations where a long read range and hundreds of vehicles are going to be using these systems. Readers are typically placed in highly visible areas, maybe off a main road or street, and tags can be located in the windshield, bumpers, or even hanging from the mirror. Long-range radio frequency identification or automatic vehicle ID systems are fast, reliable, and automatic ways to ID the drivers and vehicles in all weather conditions, allowing for frictionless entry and exit. License plate recognition is another option, which is a software-based system that can read license plates on your fleet of vehicles for access and egress via photographic video or images that then translating into a digital or machine readable characters for companies on the go. Keypads, while these are very popular and the most cost-effective option on the market, they are the least secure device as well. Card and proximity readers and cards. As mentioned, your existing building access control card readers can be expanded to use for vehicular access to your site as well. Remote control transmitters and receivers. Just like your garage door opener at home, there are a lot of options for transmitters from single to 4 button and colors and finishes. The receivers are then going to be wired into your gate operator. Some typical access control installed locations. So our remote controlled receivers are going to be located inside the gate operator. Our vehicle tag readers are going to be a minimum of 6 feet, or I'm sorry, vehicle tag readers are going to be about 6 feet from the gate. Our card readers, keypads, scanners, or even our telephone entry system. These are going to be a minimum of 6 feet away from the gate, but typically it's going to be more like 10 to 20 feet. and license plate readers are going to be at least 20 feet out in front of your gate. When I work on a project with you, I'm going to ask you, have you consulted with the fire marshal? What kind of emergency access device do they want, and where do they want it installed? They're going to tell us what device to use and where they want it installed. This is one of the caveats to the UL 325 safety standard, as the emergency access device can go anywhere the fire marshal wants it. Also an option are control panels. There's HMI and analog options. These can be very detailed, in-depth systems, which can read not only operator open or close status, but also loop readouts and things like that. Or very minimal, as shown on the right, with our push buttons for typically open and close. These are typically going to be in a guard shack and or your security operations center. There is options also for primary and secondary. So if you do have a security operations center and a guard shack, you could have different panels for each location. Now we're going to talk about the vehicular obstruction loops. These are basically big magnets or induction loops of coiled wire that have been embedded under the surface of the roadway. Once a vehicle is detected, it'll activate the relay in the gate operator. Once the presence of a vehicle on the loop is detected, it can do one of many actions, from opening gates, preventing gates from closing. We could close the gate. We could also limit tailgating and count vehicles, which is an important part of your sequence of operation, which we're also very happy to help you with, and also can arm your readers as well. Detector modules come in a couple of different varieties, whether plug-in or plug-and-play types, or the hardwired type that would be wired into your gate operator as well. A lot of people are always asking, what is the activation of the loop? Well, the activation is going to be 2/3 the short leg. So in this scenario, our 6-foot short leg, we're going to have about 2/3 of that. So our activation height is going to be 4 feet. We typically use 6 foot for semis. We use 4-foot short legs for personal vehicles. You guys have probably seen these in the roadway at traffic lights. They're basically the same thing as those. And any of you ever ride motorcycles or bicycle riders not able to get the light to change for you? When that happens, you want to ride over the short leg, as that's the most sensitive, or maybe install a steel plate on the bottom of your motorcycle or bicycle. Just joking. So here are some typical preferred vehicle obstruction loop layouts for slide gates. As shown here, our slide gate in the middle. Typically, we're going to have inside and outside obstruction loops. Again, this is going to be inside from your secure side of the gate. Typically, these are going to be located 4 feet from each side of the gate panel, and we want to keep them away from the curbs. So minimum 2 feet from there, just to make sure that maybe a lawnmower or anything along the side doesn't activate these gates. Our preferred vehicle obstruction loop layout for swing gates. Again, we're going to have that outside obstruction loop on our unsecured side of the gate panel, 4 feet and 2 feet from the curb. And then we're going to have a shadow or safety loop, which is going to be located out there in the arc of your swing gate. For barrier arms, these are typically going to be centered under the arm as a center or reset loop. For all of these scenarios, once all the loops are cleared, it could start a close timer to close all the gates. Then if another vehicle or card swipe is given, then these can also reopen the gates or stop them from closing. Arming loops are also an important part of your sequence of operations, and that's going to be located out there by your access control device or card reader. And this just makes sure that there's a vehicle on that loop, and then the card reader would become active. Vehicle obstruction loops for free exits is typically going to be 10 to 15 feet in front of your gate, but could even be 20 depending on traffic patterns. This is going to be located where the loop needs to be installed so that the exiting vehicle will activate the gate to be in the full open position by the time the vehicle reaches the gate. One thing to keep in mind, we only do recommend 5 miles an hour through any automated vehicular gate system. There are a lot of alternatives to loops, as sometimes loops do get a bad name. So there's microwave sensors, presence sensors, and you could possibly even use a photo. In our typical layouts, if you have a secure entrance, what will drivers do if not given permission to enter your site? So as shown here on our slide gate installation, we have our card reader out there on that median, and then there's room for a turnaround before approaching the gates, as we wouldn't want someone to then have to drive onto our secure site and then make a U-turn to come back out. Again, this is just an aspect that we'll help you with when we're helping you design your access control point system. Do you have a secure, excuse me? So here's a typical layout for dedicated entry and exit lanes with either swing gates or slide gates. Maybe the far outer lanes are for employees or residents, and the inner lanes are for visitors. We want to be sure also that swing gates travel is within the property line, and we always prefer that swing gates to swing away from vehicles. And in here, again, in our swing gate or barrier arm installation with our guard shack in the center for visitors, and still having our dedicated employee and resident lanes. Again, we still have our turnaround for just in case. Sequence gates are typically going to be a slide gate and a barrier arm. And once given open command, the slide gate starts to open. When in the full open position is reached, the barrier arm will also then be in the full open position. Also, during times of high traffic, we could leave the slide gate open and cycle traffic with the barrier arms, as they can get a full 90-degree open within 2.5 seconds. However, this does require special loop wiring, which we're happy to help you with that as well. In dual gate or biparting gate systems, the primary gate operator will start to open, followed then by the second gate panel. The closing process is the same as well. Primary starts, followed by a short delay before the secondary gate closes behind it. For Sallyport installations, the outer gate will full open, allowing a vehicle to enter the holding area, and once clear, we'll close the outer gate. When it reaches the full close, the inner gate will then start to open, thus allowing the vehicle to proceed through. Now we're going to talk about UL325 and monitored entrapment protection devices. When the standard first came out in 2001, we talked about those usage classes. Now, in 2018, they changed to now how do the gate operators operate? For a horizontal slide, a vertical lift, or vertical pivot, the UL325 safety standard says that you must use 2 independent monitored means of entrapment in each direction of slide gate travel. So I'm going to use either a type A, an inherent entrapment sensor, B1, non-contact sensor, think those photo eyes on your garage door at home, and B2, our contact sensor. For swing gates and barrier arms, I needed a second additional entrapment protection device in the closed direction if a entrapment area exists. So instead of that type A inherent entrapment in the swing gate and vertical and barrier arm, I'm going to use a type C, force limiting or adjustable clutch. And then that B1 non-contact sensor, again, those photo eyes on your garage door, or B2, your contact sensor. In any of these installations, if you don't want to use any of these devices, you can always use a constant pressure button, which you must maintain pressure during the entire open and close cycle, or the gate will automatically stop where it's at. B2, non-contact sensors, as shown here. We're showing a through beam set of photo eyes like on your garage door at home. Here's how we like to show them on your site plan. We'll see where your driveway is. We'll drop in a little gate operator, and we'll show a photo eye across the driveway and on the full open as well. We do recommend the through beam set of photo eyes The other option is photoreflective, so an emitter on your one side with a big bicycle reflector on the far side. You're going to have a lot more false positives holding that gate open with the photoreflective, as shiny paint, chrome, spider webs, snow, sleet, anything like that can often hold your gate open. So we do recommend the through beam set of photo eyes. B2, contact sensors, as shown here. It is the device with an electric wire in it. So it is an electric switch that we need to get a signal from where these can be located, typically on the leading and trailing edge of the gate panel as shown here. And also there in the center on that gate post, could be fence, a wall, anything like that. These are electric switches. So typically, because on our 20 or 40 foot long gate, we're not going to have a wire running the length of this gate. They're going to be used with a wireless transmitter, which then you'll probably have a battery issue in about a year or two. So we want to make sure these are also going to be on a PM for replacement on a regular basis. Here are some potential entrapment zones on a slide gate. Number one, I just mentioned in the center of the gate entry there at the unsecure side is typically where we like to show a contact edge. And this is where most people are going to become entrapped in a slide gate system. So with a little forethought and planning, the contact edge can be located here and hardwired into this gate operator. Number two is a photo eye across the driveway. And number three is the photo eye on the tail section as it opens. All of our slide gate operators come with number one and number two in every box. So at the bare minimum, you would only need to add that second photo eye there at number three. And it's a very cost-effective option, maybe just a couple $100. For a swing gate, the safety standard says that wherever an entrapment area exists, you must protect or guard it. So number one is our leading edge of the gate as it opens and closes. Two is the bottom edge of the gate. The safety standard says that if the bottom of the gate becomes any more than 4 inches above grade, you must protect or guard that as well. 3 is our gate travel. 4 and 5. If these are 12-inch columns and we mount this gate right in the center for aesthetics, then we have an entrapment zone, which is anything that's greater than 2 1/4 inches, but less than 16. This is where they think that a person should become entrapped in this area. They might not survive. So again, remember an entrapment zone is anything that's 2 1/4 inches, but less than 16. And number 6, as that arm aperture moves towards that wall, if it again comes within this area of entrapment, we must protect or guard it. So in review, our UL 325 ASTM F2200 compliant gate system, slide gate system is going to have all of these included. Remember I mentioned our inherent entrapment sensor and our UL labeled and listed gate operator. I've also got a photo eye across the driveway and on the clear open as well. I've put contact edges on the leading edge of this gate. This standard also calls for gates that cannot fall over. So there's a fall over prevention posts that are covering my rollers so those aren't pinch areas. My gate's been screened or guarded so that a 2 1/4 inch sphere cannot pass through. I have a pedestrian entrance and my access control reader is mounted at least 6 feet away from any moving part of the gate. Our UL 325 and ASTM F2200 compliant swing gate installation for bi-parting gates here. Again, instead of that inherent entrapment sensor, I'm going to use that adjustable clutch or force limiting in my UL labeled and listed swing gate operators. I've got contact edges on the leading edge of these gates. As they're independent of each other, we wouldn't want someone to be maybe running through there and becoming trapped between these two leaves. I also have them on the bottom edge of these swing gate panels. As you see, when they open up, they are setting on top of a curb. So I have an entrapment zone there as well that must be protected or guarded. There's a warning sign over there by my wall, by my pedestrian entrance. And again, my access control device is located a minimum of 6 feet away from any moving part of the gate. If you're interested in learning more about the UL 325 and ASTM F2200 safety standards for automated vehicular access control points, we're happy to offer this presentation to you as well. So now we're going to do a product line review. Nice HySecurity is who we are. We've been around for many, many years. We have a full line of residential gate installation operators for your installation, whether slide gates or swing gates. Also very well known for our solar applications. So if you're ever looking at something like that for your residential or light farm projects, we're happy to supply operators for these installations. Our light commercial gate automation and traffic control. We have slide gates shown here. A couple different models for your site, depending on what your gate weight is and also speed requirements. We have swing gates and we have barrier arms. The nice thing is that all of these DC operators come with battery backup standard. So that's a nice aspect to have, or you need to be considering that what is going to happen to your gate system should the power fail. Our advanced industrial gate automation and traffic control solutions. We have been very well known for our slide driver gate operators, those big green boxes. If you're ever driving around airports or industrial sites, you'll probably see them. They have been very reliable gate operators for many, many years. Most times we're just replacing them because they're concerned about their age at 20 to 30 years, but they're still working. We also offer a couple different swing gate options. The Hydro Swing there, you'll see that picture is a solid gate panel. Again, we don't ever want a solid gate panel because it's going to become an issue to open in the wind. And then we also have a swing riser. This is going to be maybe where your site needs a little more security to it. So the gates could set flush with the grade, and when it goes to open, it'll lift up 4 inches. By the time it reaches full 90 degrees, it would be 12 inches above grade. So if you're trying to get around any curbs or anything like that, this is a great option. The strong arm barrier arm has been very popular. This comes from arm lengths from anywhere from 8 to 36 feet. We do DOT lanes. Some of them also can be spring loaded and also have a breakaway arm function as well. So if the arm does get struck, then the operator isn't trying to flop that arm around as well. Again, these two can have LED lit arms and or traffic lights attached to the arm for higher visibility. And then our HydroLift gate is a really neat application. It can lift an 80-foot wide gate 16 feet in the air. So if snow is an issue that you're trying to be concerned about, or you are concerned about, sorry, we've done a lot of these across the country of Canada as they get a lot more snow and they don't want to worry about pushing or pulling a gate in the snow. They can just lift them straight up in the air. And then we have our hostile vehicle mitigation solutions. We have a strong arm, barrier arm here in the first column. Are you guys familiar with the old ASTM or the old DOD, DOSK ratings? Well, if you are, or if you're familiar with the newer ASTM F2656 ratings, these operators fall under that. With our M30 designation, we are going to stop a 15,000-pound truck traveling at 30 miles an hour. And our M50 is that same 15,000-pound vehicle traveling at 50 miles an hour. Our barrier arm, strong arm there, is a dual arm system. So that lower arm is intended to stop any passenger vehicles or accidental strikes to it. Our Hydro Wedge is also that ASTM F2656 rating with its M50. So that's that 15,000-pound truck traveling at 50 miles an hour. The Wedge Smart DC is a barrier arm and a wedge plate in one. Typically, you're going to see these more at like rental car facilities. Bollards are another great option for hostile vehicle mitigation. We have fixed and removable, and we are soon happy to announce our hydraulically lifted should be available by the end of the year. And then we have a strong slide. This is going to be a crash slide gate. Oh, I guess I need to update my slide. So this is going to be a crash slide gate and gate operator in one, and we're going to meet the strong arm M30, and we also do have the strong arm M50 as well. Here's some nice installation photos of all of these. Not only are they typically going to be found at critical assets or infrastructure sites, but also for military installations, airports, anything where we want to restrict the access. So there's a couple different ways that these are going to be spec'd out there. And again, we do have a completely different presentation if you're interested in our HVM line. but there's crash engineered and crash tested. We prefer to crash test our stuff because we just think it's a lot more fun. And anyone can run calculations and see that. So here in the upper left, this is going to be that strong arm M30. So this is my 15,000 pound truck traveling at 30 miles an hour. After that M designation, then there's the penetration rating. So P1 is typically past the perimeter up to the 1 meter mark. P2 is the 1 meter mark up to like 28 feet, and P3 is in the next county. Remember, in these scenarios, we're only concerned with the payload on the truck bed. It used to be the bumper broke the perimeter, but now we're worried about the payload on the truck bed breaking the perimeter. So again, 15,000 pound truck traveling at 30 miles an hour. Here on the right is my 15,000 pound truck traveling at 50 miles an hour. So the M30 on the left got a P1. This M50 gets a P2, as it did, the payload on the truck bed did break the perimeter. Here is our hydro wedge. So this is that 15,000 pound truck traveling at 50 miles an hour. The hydro wedge is one of the shallowest foundations in the industry at 12 inches deep, very minimal concrete and rebar included in these. And they have an EFO of 1 second. Typically, it's going to be a two-step authentication. Make sure you are not accidentally hitting that EFO just in case. So this is that 15,000 pound truck traveling at 50 miles an hour. Not only do we meet the American ASTM F2656 ratings, but we also meet the European standards, so the European style cabin. I don't know about you guys, but the first time I saw this video, I'm like, holy moly cow, what happened to that guy driving? Does anyone know how it's done? Well, if you said a pulley system, you are correct. Here's another nice view. And then here's our strong slide M30. Again, that 15,000 pound truck traveling at 30 miles an hour. Did you see how far those footings came out of the ground? There was actually so little damage to this truck that it could be used again. And that is the conclusion of how to design a functional and secure automated vehicular access control point system. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki. We've got a few questions to start with, and reminder for anyone who might have a question who didn't submit it yet, you can use the Q&A box to do that. You can also raise your hand. I'll keep my eye on that and we can unmute you. You don't have to ask, you don't have to turn your video on, but sometimes it feels a little easier to ask your question out loud. All right, so starting off with, could you provide some information on how you handle like ongoing support and troubleshooting after installation?
Yes, we have regional security manager or regional sales manager. So we always like to be in contact with you guys if you have any questions, comments, complaints when these are installed. And we have tech support available from 6 a.m. Eastern time all the way till I believe it's 5 p.m. Pacific. So you have any questions, comments, complaints, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. We sell through distribution. So then they sell then to the local installer. So we're happy to help you with any troubleshooting and or sequence of operation questions that you may have.
Awesome. All right. And then could you touch on a bit how these systems can handle emergency vehicle access while still maintaining security?
Yep, I mentioned earlier that we want to always reach out, and we will remind you to reach out to the fire marshal during our initial conversations to see what kind of emergency access control device do they want and where do they want it. They're going to tell us. There's some pretty neat options out there nowadays besides that good old-fashioned Knox firebox, that big red box. So we want to make sure that we're including their required emergency access device and where they want it.
Mhm. So, all right. And then is there training or documentation that you provide for facility managers or folks who will be operating the systems?
Yes, we actually do. We have started our, regional product training seminars a couple years ago. So we try to have 2, maybe 3 of those in different parts of the country, so we can get all of the local and even long distance installers to come out and see them, or even end users and product and facility managers to come out and understand it. It is a fun-filled 4 days of gate operator training, and the first 3 days are gate operators, barrier arms, and all of our product lines. And day 4 would be our HVM crash training. Once you do take that class, again, all 8 hours, you get to become a crash authorized installer for all of our HVM products. We also are doing them with our new world today. We also are doing some of those virtually. So just let us know how and when you would like to be trained, and we're happy to get that set up for you guys.
Awesome. All right. Can separate in and out gates scissor in plan? Is there a way to cut off an entrapment zone? This would be for a storage facility.
Separate entry and exit gates, and what was the other part?
Can separate in and out gates scissor in plan? Is there a way to cut off an entrapment zone?
I'm not sure what the scissor means, but if they're I think I maybe where you have an entry and exit and they're maybe like stacking on top of each other, then yes, those could be entrapment zones. So we'd want to protect or guard those. But we would like to see your site plan and maybe have an idea of what you're thinking about, and then we're happy to help you ensure that all of the entrapment zones are being protected or guarded per the UL 25 safety standard.
Awesome. All right, great. Yeah, I think for the person who asked that question, probably sharing some drawings, having some support in reviewing those would be great. So if you respond to that poll that we have up, our team will help you get in touch with the team at HySecurity so that you can discuss that project further and figure out a plan that would work for you. All right, it looks like that might have wrapped up our questions for now. So while we have a few moments, Nikki, would you mind if I quickly take over screen share just to recap for anyone who might have missed it?
Sure, I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. All right, and looks like that person said I'll send over some example plans, so that's great. Yeah, definitely helpful to have some of those conversations early in the design process. All right, I'm going to share my screen and just do a quick recap for anyone who might have missed the first few minutes of our session today. We did a quick introduction on how to find more information about HySecurity on Acelab. So if you head to acelabusa.com after today's webinar, you can type the name of any brand or resource you're looking for into the search bar at the top. So if I just type in HySecurity, I can jump right over to their page on Acelab. You can use this button to get in touch directly with their team. That'll actually allow you to upload project details. So if you want to, quickly collaborate about a project, it's a super great way to do that. Scrolling down, you can see more products. You can save these to your projects so that you can kind of store that in your digital firm library. And to show you what happens after you hit this contact button, you'll get a conversation created with the HySecurity team. Your conversations are going to live up here in this tab. So head over to this little button. I've got like 100 conversations. Yours will probably be a little bit less, but you can jump into any of your conversations here, and you can use this as a way to collaborate with, different vendors and different reps. You can also find that by using this drop-down bar and heading to the conversations over here. So Acelab is a great place to come after today's webinar if you want to discuss some project-specific questions, or if you want to just kind of explore some more about HySecurity's products. All right, awesome. Well, with that, if there are no other questions coming in, we can let everyone go a few moments early. There will be a quick survey as you leave today's webinar, so if you have any additional questions, feel free to throw them in there. Super helpful if you can give us some feedback on that survey so that we can keep bringing you content that is relevant to you. But looks like we have a few thank yous. People saying that the presentation was very informative. So thank you so much, Nikki, for a great presentation. It was really awesome to get to see this for the first time. So appreciate your time today. And thank you so much, everyone in the audience, for coming out.
Great, thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.